Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And I want to wish all of you a happy April Fool's Day. I hope you guys are going to be playing some good pranks on people, and who knows, maybe some of them will be Guns N' Roses related. So I want to go back in time to some relevant April Fool's Day news that's happened, concerning Guns N' Roses. So let's go back to 2003. At this point in time, Guns N' Roses were working on Chinese democracy. It had been, worked on since 1994, since they got off the road. And there was a press release put out by the band The Offspring. So they were working on their own album called Splinter, or that would be the final album title. But they actually originally announced that their new album was going to be called Chinese Democracy, You Snooze, You Lose. Just as like a tongue-in-cheek reference to the long-awaited Guns N' Roses album. And Dexter Holland, the singer for The Offspring, put out a statement saying, "You snooze, you lose. Axl ripped off my braids, so I ripped off his album title." And at that time, The Offspring was working with producer Brendan O'Brien, who had previously worked with Pearl Jam, Rage Against the Machine, and who would later go on to work with Velvet Revolver on their second album, Libertad. Now, around this time, we also had news that Josh Freese, who had played with Guns N' Roses back in the early 2000s and late 90s, was now going to be the new drummer for The Offspring as well. Now, shortly after The Offspring made their announcement of their upcoming album title, they soon received a letter from Axl Rose's lawyers with a cease and desist order. Now, I've read some other reports that say there was never any letter sent, and even the Offspring website actually originally took down a link that they posted saying they did receive a cease and desist letter, but Dexter Holland would later go on to say in an interview in 2009 that they actually did receive a letter. So, when the Offspring did release their album Splinter in the fall of 2003, Dexter Holland once again commented on the prank they pulled on April Fool's Day in the same year. He said, "I don't think we ever seriously considered using that name, but we could have if we wanted to, because you can't copyright or trademark an album title or a song title. Think of all the songs that are called I Love You or Baby Baby." So in 2006, when Guns N' Roses were playing a bunch of shows in New York City, Axl Rose made a surprise appearance on Eddie Trunk's radio show. And there was a number of people on the show at that time. Sebastian Bach was in the studio. They had Chris Jericho from the WWE. And the topic of The Offspring came up. So Sebastian Bach asked Axl Rose, "Hey, I want to ask you this. What do you think of that jack-off band, The Offspring?" And Axl said, "It doesn't mean anything. I mean, I'm not saying that they don't mean anything. It just doesn't matter. So Axl said that he liked the song that The Offspring had in the movie Orange County, and he liked the message of the song, but then he thought they were sort of going against the message of the song they had in the movie. And he was kind of dodgy about the actual band or his thoughts on them trying to steal the album title. So Trunk said the story was they tried to take the title of your record or whatever, and Axl said, "Yeah, well, And Bach said it didn't work, and Axl said every time a lot of people are putting out a record, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about this. And that's sort of where the conversation ended. So in 2008, a couple months after Chinese Democracy came out, Axl went on the MyGNR forums and was answering fans' questions, but he registered under the name Dexter, which some people thought was a reference to Dexter Holland from The Offspring, but Axl actually explained the name. He said he chose Dexter because he's a fan of the show, and his cat is named Dexter as well. He said she's a methodical killer. So in 2009, Dexter Holland was being interviewed, and the topic of Guns N' Roses came up. And he talked about the April Fool's Day joke they played on Guns N' Roses, and he said, "We got a lot more attention than we thought we would. I heard Axl Rose was looking into legal options, but there aren't any, since you can't copyright an album title before it's released." And he also said, he gave his thoughts on Chinese Democracy. He said, honestly, he's not that crazy about it. And if you guys are still wondering, well, could The Offspring have named their album title Chinese Democracy, You Snooze, You Lose? Well, they actually could have, according to a copyright lawyer that Rolling Stone interviewed. So he said trademark law does not come into existence unless the title is used in interstate commerce. And he said that right now they're just two ordinary words. Under that analysis, it would seem that Guns N' Roses have no right to that title, and The Offspring are free to use it in any purpose they wish. He added that unless Guns N' Roses label issued press releases touting the album or the band had toured extensively under the album's name, they have no real claim to the Chinese Democracy. Now, the lawyer did say that trademark law was enacted to protect consumers from being confused, and though both Offspring and GNR play hard rock-inspired music, The Offspring should be safe as long as they are clearly named on the album's cover. Now, around this time, like I said earlier, a source close to Guns N' Roses claimed a letter from Rose's camp warning the Offspring not to use the album title was sent earlier that year. An Offspring spokesperson denied the existence of such a letter. And this wasn't the first prank that the Offspring tried to pull. So in 2000, they actually were selling bootleg Napster t-shirts on their website, and they ended up drawing a cease and desist letter from the now defunct file trading site, and the order was later rescinded. So this wasn't the first time that the Offspring had actually poked fun at Guns N' Roses. So in 2002, the Offspring and Guns N' Roses were supposed to be playing the Leeds Festival together in the UK. So a month before the festival, the Offspring guitarist Noodles was actually interviewed. And he said, "Those guys ain't gonna show. We were supposed to have played with them in Italy last year and they blew it," chuckled the guitarist. "Man, there's so many rumors about that band, what with Buckethead being institutionalized and Axl's hair implants going wrong, and taking 18 years to make a new record, that's insane. But I'm looking forward to seeing the Prodigy again at Reading, and I hope Jane's Addiction will be on the same night as us." The band also referenced the feud in a 2008 interview they did with Enemy.com. So it had been 5 years between the album Splinter, which came out in 2003, and Rise and Fall, Rage and Grace, which came out in 2008. And Noodles joked that they shouldn't have called their album title Chinese Democracy because it came back to bite them, and that's why it took 5 years to make Rise and Fall, Rage and Grace. Now, in 2014, a close personal friend of the band, Mark Cantor, was actually asked about the controversy. So he was asked, "Hey Mark, when the Offspring announced that they were going to name their new album Chinese Democracy in 2003, what was Axl's reaction? Did Slash stuff Izzy or Steven ever comment about it? Were there any major freakouts by anyone?" To which Mark responded, "No one said anything about it. Axl's people shut that shit down. The last thing Axl needed was them effing with him while he was trying to get the record out. It's effed up that another band can steal shit from you and get some press." He said, "I remember back in 1994, Axl thought Self-Esteem was cool." So Self-Esteem was one of the singles that was actually released on the Offspring's first album, Smash. So that does it for today's video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this true story episode. Comment down below and hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of this video. Let me know your thoughts down below, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for all things related to Guns N' Roses. And be sure to follow me on social media. The links to my Facebook and Twitter page are down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have yourself a good day.